the Agnes Vest, the vest that keeps on giving. Oh, it looks quite uneven. Look at how fine this yarn is. Welcome back to my podcast. This is episode 3 of the Jam of All Crafts podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. So since my last podcast episode, I made a visit to a yarn shop called Stash. And you may have seen a video that I did where I filmed around the store, showed you the various yarns and things, and a bit of the local area. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it in the description for you. Really great yarn shop. One of the things that I was looking forward to seeing was the various Japanese yarns that they had in stock. So they did stock a bit of Noro, but also they stocked a bit of Katia yarns, and I think Katia also does some various Japanese-esque lines as well. So it was a great visit, but it was also a visit where I did not leave empty-handed. So I will show you some of the things that I picked up on that visit. So the first thing I picked up, which you may have seen in the recent Stash London video. So it's this concept by Katia Pumino yarn. It is superfine alpaca and it's in the color 300. And it is 64% alpaca and 36% polyamide. And it's incredibly soft. And my plan for this yarn is to make a scarf for the winter. It could also become a hat, but primarily my aim is to make a scarf. There was a sample scarf that was knit, I think, in a sort of pink and red mixed color, but I tend to lean more towards oranges, browns, kind of natural earthy color. So this was the one for me. It is so soft. I cannot wait to get crocheting a scarf. I also am on the lookout for scarf patterns, but it could just end up being something that I've self-drafted, double crochets back and forth, and then I might add fringing or something like that. But I will have a look around. If anyone has suggestions for a nice chunky crochet scarf, then please let me know. I think this is probably Aran weight. It looks fairly chunky. I know whatever I make, it just feels so soft against the skin. So I cannot wait to work with this. That's the first thing I picked up. The next thing I picked up is this book called Boho Crochet, and it's by RENO Design, and they actually do their own yarn lines. I hope you can see that. So RENO do their own lines, and I had actually gone to the store, aside from looking at the Japanese yarn, I wanted some more cotton linen yarn because I had planned to make a table runner and I was hoping to pick up some cotton linen yarn. And then I came across this book which was recommended to me, and it had some nice home projects in it, cushions and placemats and that sort of thing. So I picked this up, and this actually will lead me on to my next acquisition. So the next thing I got was this RENO, so the same company that does the book. So RENO Chic Unique Cotton, it's DK, you get 100 grams and it's 50% cotton and 50% acrylic. And I was really drawn in by these kind of sherbety colors. When I went through this book, I came across the bag. There's a bag design here, and I thought I'd give it a try. So actually that is my first and only finished object for this podcast. So it's this mesh bag, and I'm planning to use it for, you know, if I'm going on a walk and I can pop my water bottle. So see if it fits. Yeah, so it's big enough to carry a water bottle, or I can put in my phone or just a few essentials for walks, and has this long crossbody handle. And yes, and that's my finished object for the podcast. I really had fun making it. It's the first time that I've crocheted any mesh. It was fairly challenging to get my head around, but eventually when you see the mesh kind of building up, it's really quite rewarding. It's fairly easy to make. I think I may have messed up on the pattern a bit. So this book has the, as I showed you, the pattern. I think I might have messed up a bit, but it was a great way to test out this yarn, just because it was a hot day and I was really just in the mood for cotton and light and mesh and things like that. So those are the other two things I picked up and my finished object. Next thing I picked up from Stash is this Linendale or King Cole Linendale DK, and it is 57% cotton, 30% viscose and 13% linen, and you get 50 grams of this. So as I mentioned before, I'm planning on making some homeware stuff specifically for this table that you see here now. So my initial idea was to make a table runner for this table in a lacy sort of crochet pattern, but we'll see what I can find. But also I thought that I could make potentially placemats for this table. I do have some placemats, but I'm hoping to use this linen cotton yarn. If I'm honest, because of just how hot it has been in the last few weeks, I think we're on our third heat wave of the summer in London. It's really a joy just to work with these light yarns. I just can't tolerate anything heavier at the moment. So I picked up a couple of these to get started on a runner for my table. And then lastly, I picked up these really sweet stitch markers. They're metal stitch markers and they are by Millwood. And I'll show you in more details in the close-up, but if you couldn't guess why I picked them up, as a lover of tea and cake, which I've literally just had tea and cake. So really cute selection of stitch markers, and I actually really like, one thing about stitch markers, I have had some of those ring ones, so I got a set of ring with a nice gemstone attached to it from Soster & Gren. They're really pretty, but they're really hard to use because every time you want to hook them on, they're like jump rings. So you need to keep opening and closing the jump. And if I am doing that at the end of every row, it gets a bit difficult. Whereas these are like a safety pin type of fastening. So it's easy just to open and close and hook it, and you're good to go. And also the gems kept falling off the Soster & Gren ones, whereas this one is pretty secure. And yeah, I thought they were great. So my first kind of cutesy stitch markers, and they come in this little case, which I might actually use to hold the rest of my stitch markers, but that's that one there. I think that might be everything I picked up from Stash. I suppose while I'm going through the acquisitions that I made from Stash, I might as well show you some other recent acquisitions. The first one I'm really excited about, actually, because I also referring to another video that I made about my visit to Loop London. So when I was in Loop London, the focus there was on knitting, but they do also do crochet related notions and tools and guides, patterns, books, that kind of thing. And there was a publication called Laine, and I am under the impression that Laine focuses mostly on knitting patterns, beautiful pictures and really lovely patterns and things like that. But Laine did a special edition for crochet, and of course I had to pick that up. I actually got it from Loop London, but I got it online. So as soon as I saw this, I was like, yep, that's for me. So I got this Laine Let's Crochet, and it is absolutely full of, even the t-shirt on the cover, like, it's just so nice for summer. But it's just full of really, really great projects that I can't wait to have a try. Just flick through the pages there, but yeah, some really great patterns and really lovely photos. So yeah, I can't wait to get stuck in. I think the patterns might be more challenging. I'm not sure if they're beginner friendly, But in any case, it's my first proper, I'd say, crochet magazine slash publication. This Laine special edition one, I just thought I had to grab. So yeah, so that's the next thing that I've picked up recently. Now, and I just have my notes here. Sorry, I have so many things to talk about. So I just got my notes here. So I think I'll move on to going over my whips now. The first one, I cannot believe I still haven't finished, but I have made quite a bit of progress since I last showed you. So the first whip is the Granny Vest, the Agnes Vest, the vest that keeps on giving, I will call this. But I'm nearly finished. I'm nearly finished. I'll do some proper cutaways so you can see how much I've done. But I have actually made really good progress now. But I'm still dealing with all of the ends. So the one thing I would say, dear viewer, whoever's watching this, I would say if you are making a granny square project, my advice would be to try and deal with your ends as you go. Because I've done squares before and I have done that, but for some reason with this project, I thought, oh, I'll just wait to the end because that's going to slow me down. But in actuality, it just seems like such a huge task now to go through and deal with the ends. You'll see I've made some progress in dealing with the ends. I've got quite a few of the ends dealt with. I still have a way to go, and I just have to join a couple more squares at the bottom. But I haven't joined the sides yet, basically. But I've done the garment is pretty much done. The only other thing that's stopping me from working on this at the moment, aside from the mammoth task of dealing with the ends, is the weather. This is so lovely and warm and soft and cozy, and I will be looking forward to wearing it maybe around September, October, when things start to cool down, but you still need a bit of warmth. But just having this in my lap when it's 30 odd degrees at the moment is just too much. So unfortunately, I've parked this for the time being, as well as the other vest that I was working on that I showed you in my first podcast episode. I'm not going to rush to make it for now because I probably won't wear it for a few months. So I've parked those, and I've got some other smaller projects that I've started. Here's my excuses for starting new whips, but I do have a whole project vlog that I have been filming over the past couple of months now in relation to making this, just because it's the first big garment that I will have made. So I really wanted to take the time to film my process and my struggles and things like that, just to show you what went into making this piece. Like the other YouTubers make it look very easy, but there is a lot that goes into making something like this, especially when you have a million other things going on in your life too. So this is my way to relax, and it has been relaxing, but at the moment it's just too warm. I'll just take it out and you'll know what I mean. So this is the RENO top that I'm working on in BC Garn Lino, so 100% linen. I'm making very slow progress on this as well, and I'll tell you why. Look at how fine this yarn is. On reflection, I'm not sure exactly what I was thinking. Like, I could have used a thicker cotton, like a DK cotton, which would have made this project go quicker. But linen, or the linen I'm using, is so fine and delicate that it just is growing slowly. But I'm actually really happy with the progress that I have made, and I'm liking the way it's looking. And I know it will be gorgeous when I've eventually finished. But this is quite a time-consuming garment to construct, and every now and then I will add a row or two and put this one down. So I'm really enjoying making it. I really hope to show you this by the end of the summer. I will make and wear this summer, but for now I've done one half. I have another half of it to go for the the backside. But yeah, it's going well. I'm enjoying it. I love the way it looks. It's already feeling fairly, you know, soft with all my handling and wearing in. So I like this. But that's the second whip. The next whip I will show you is based on something that I picked up from Loop London, and it's just a bit of an experiment, but also because of how heavy the Agnes Vest feels at the moment, I just wanted another really light project to work on. So I have started working on this pouch, and I'm using this Robin yarn. You've probably seen me talk about it before. It's 100% acrylic, really nice soft acrylic, basic, really affordable. So I have this in various colors, and I've been using it for my blanket that you can see behind me, and started working or holding this with this pom-pom yarn, this Japanese pom-pom yarn. It is, I think it's Mondo Fill. Yeah. So this is the Mondo Fill pom-pom yarn I've showed you before. And my plan is to make a pouch out of this. So you probably, I'll hold that. Oops, I'm pulling out my stitches. So the plan is to make a pouch. So what I'm doing for now is I'm just making a rectangle until I get to a point where I'm happy. Then I'll fold it in half and I'll do up the sides. So I'm nearly done, really. It might just be like a pencil case sized pouch for this one. And then I'm planning on adding a zip to it. So I picked up this zip recently in a random craft store, and it's a 25 centimeter zip because I had measured the width of the rectangle I'm making up, and this one was just a bit more. So it'll be a good way to also practice how to attach a zip to a crochet project. So I have this zip in this nice burnt orange color, and I may line it actually. I have some fabrics. A while ago I got a brother sewing machine, and I used to practice sewing on it. And actually during the pandemic, I was making my own face masks. And so I was using my machine, and I had all this fabric, these fat quarters. So I may just go through some of the fat quarters I have and see if any complements this nicely, and then I'll line this. But that's what I'm working on, trying to find an interesting way to use this pom-pom yarn. I'm really liking the texture of it, and I'm just doing, might just be a treble crochet, but a couple of rows I've done like a back loop only, just to give it another bit of texture. Very simple, some would say mindless, but I'm just trying to, oh, it looks quite uneven. Yeah, so I'm just looking for an interesting way to use this pom-pom yarn, and so I will keep you posted, but I'm liking how it's taking shape so far. I probably only will do maybe 3 or 4 more rows and keep it at a pencil pouch size, and I might even use this to keep my crochet notions in. So I might put some my measuring tape, my scissors, my darning needles and things like that. I might just use this pouch to keep those bits and bobs in. So that's that. The next whip is this, and see if you can guess what this is. So this is the next whip. I'm really enjoying actually the way this looks like. I would even just use this as a table setting. But the plan or the intention for this, it's the beginning of one of those bouquet blankets. So I'm following a pattern by Secret Yarnery, and I will link her video. So you've probably seen those viral bouquet blankets where you create this, you work in a round, you create this circle, and then when you get to a size that you're happy with, you add green for the leaves and the stem, and then you add flowers on the end. And then when you pick it up in the middle like that, you can hold it like a bouquet. So that is something that I've been working on using oops, using yarn from my stash. This yarn in my stash, and I will flash the name on the screen because I can't find the information band at the moment, but it was this chunky brown cream marled or mottled color yarn, and I was thinking of ways to use it, and I did make a scrunchie out of it which is quite chunky, but then I thought I would use this up for that blanket, mini blanket I'll call it. I think I'll make it maybe like a baby blanket size. I'm not planning on making like a huge I don't know, I'm not planning on making a huge blanket. This was purely just to test the pattern and something interesting to work on, but also because of how chunky the yarn is, it actually works up fairly quickly. And because I'm working on a couple of projects with really fine yarn, I just wanted something that was chunky and I could get stuck in. I mean, I'm using a 6mm hook for this one compared to I think a 2mm hook for my linen top. So yeah, I'm ecstatic about this. Secret Yarnery is great. She has an amazing channel and she has some really awesome patterns and tips and things on there. And this is fairly, I'll say this is a fairly straightforward pattern to follow. She has the YouTube video, but she also has a written pattern on her blog, which I'll link. So that is that. I'm hoping I'll have this finished by the autumn, but we shall see. I have many other things I'm working on, so I'm just enjoying the process of making this one. This next segment is a little bit different because I have been keeping a secret, or at least something I'm really excited about. So I have had some merino wool tops in my stash, merino and I think Corriedale wool tops in my stash for a while. I showed you earlier in my YouTube videos where I did some weaving or wall hangings where I was weaving the wool tops in to create like a braid pattern, and then I also showed you a video where I made pom-poms out of the wool tops, and they were quite like fluffy dense pom-poms. But I have also for a while now been really interested and wanting to try spinning. The next acquisition is this drop spindle. Now this drop spindle is one that I picked up from the Fiber Hut, and I will link their website below. And it's a beginner spindle, and I have been teaching myself to spin my own yarn. So you'll see on here I actually have some wool tops spinning in progress, but I will now show you I'll show you some video clips of me spinning a second spin. I'll show you, but I will show you the progress that I've made so far. I'm really pleased with how it's going. And also you may be aware that there is an event, shall we say, for spinners online called Tour de Fleece. And I won't be doing anything as elaborate as maybe they're doing. It's where you spin for every day that the Tour de France is in full swing. And some people set challenges where they want to spin the longest length for the Tour de Fleece, or they might want to experiment with new fibers or things like that. I'm going to call what I'm doing a mini Tour de Fleece, mini or petit Tour de Fleece, because I am absolutely beginning my spinning journey. But what a time to challenge myself to spin as well. I hope to eventually make things out of my spins, obviously. I think my challenge is going to be just spinning and plying and getting a full skein over the period of the Tour de France. So that's my aim. So this is part of my third spin. This is a merino wool top, and it's a blended color. I can't remember the colorway, but it's this really unicorny looking blend of colors, really pretty colors. So that's what I'm spinning for my third spin, but I'll show you my first two. so don't laugh. So the first spin is this Corridale, I think this is Marine. No, it's all Corridale. So this is the first time I span anything or spun anything. And this is like a Corridale blend. I tried to ply it, so I tried to spin once and spin another one, and then ply them together by spinning in the opposite direction. And I've got this really chunky, looking thing. But that's my first go. I'm using toilet paper roll holders as bobbins for now, so repurposing things. So this is actually part of my second spin, which is this merino in the color sage. So it's pure 100% merino. And so I spun this and then I blended it. So I spun this merino and then I also spun some grey coloured Corridale wool, and I have plied it together, and so I have this really nice green and grey mixed skein. So I'm really pleased with it actually. For my second spin, I think you can see there's a big improvement between the two. So I'm really, really proud of that. And I have some leftover merino here, but I'm not sure what I'll do with it. I'll probably mix it in with something else, but that's my second spin. So this is the full journey here so far. So the first, second, and the third spin. So I'm really, really proud of this progress, and I'm really taking notes from loads of really interesting spinning experts on YouTube, and I'm not in any rush to buy a wheel. I don't intend to buy a wheel. I'm happy using this drop spindle. I may potentially try a different type of drop spindle. I've seen one that's, I think it's called a Turkish spindle, where it's you have this stick, but then you have what looks like a cross at the bottom, and then when you spin the yarn it looks like a little turtle, which I think is really sweet. But I imagine it calls for a different type of skill when spinning it. But this one I think is called a top wall, and this is the weighted part on the top. And I'll insert some clips of me attempting to spin my second spin. But yeah, so you spin. I've been spinning anti-clockwise for the singles, and then clockwise when I'm plying it. So like in the opposite direction, and it's been working okay so far. I'm learning about drafting, so that's where you're pulling the fiber to the staple length, which is the natural length of the fibers. And depending on how fine you want your yarn to be, you might, really thin this out, or if you want a thicker, chunkier yarn, you might keep it thicker. But I'm working on evenness in some ways, but I think the problem I'm having is that there's a lot of spin left in the yarn, so as soon as I try to ply it, it all just folds up on itself. But that's fine. Like I said, it's only my second, I'm only on my third spin now, so lots to learn, but really excited to try. And I will hopefully share where I'm at with my spin journey across the Tour de Fleece, shall we say. So this is the Petit Tour de Fleece segment, and let me know what you think. Have any of you spun before? I would love your tips for the problems I'm having with plying and having too much spin or twist in the yarn. But yeah, really great experience so far, and I can't wait to start making maybe granny squares or small accessories. I have something in mind that I want to make with my first few spins, but making some really small accessories that I can crochet up and feel and look at it and think I spun that yarn myself. So yeah, I think it's really cool, and I'll link some of the creators that I've been watching recently on their Tour de Fleece journeys and just their general spinning tips and things. It's a completely new world to me, but one that's a very exciting and connected to the fiber world, so fiber arts, shall we say. So I'm really excited about this. This was fairly inexpensive. I think I might have spent £20 or £23 or something. I'll link it anyway. And it allows me to make use of the wool tops I already had in my stash, but yeah, just really great. And also, just one other thing is I've been using one of these bulldog or crocodile grip clips to hold the working yarn, shall we say. So in between adding on additional bits of fiber. So I feel like it's been working well. So I'm using it to hold the tension so it doesn't all unravel when I park it for now. And that's been working great. So that's my Petit Tour de Fleece. So let's talk about what's in my book sleeve. So this time round, this month, I have been reading this. So the author is Mariana Enriquez, and this collection of short stories is called A Sunny Place for Shady People. And I'm really enjoying this. I am about halfway through. That's the cover. So naturally, the cover art is what drew me to the book. I used to work in a bookstore, and I do love book cover art, and so I've seen Mariana's books around and I've been intrigued by this. I think a lot of her books or collections of stories have similar artists doing the drawings, but anyway, she is a horror writer, I'll say, but her type of horror I think is more body horror or psychological horror. It isn't like the traditional horror where there's monsters and supernatural things, even though there is a supernatural element to her stories. But I, I think she's, I think she's wonderful. I love the way I can be reading her book and feel completely grossed out, but at the same time intrigued and just can't stop reading. So this has actually been a really nice change from the previous book which I was reading, which I found quite heavy in the themes. It was a mother who was in a psychiatric institution. Sometimes the book was hard to follow, and that was when she was in her psychotic moods. And I felt when I finished that book, I felt like I wanted to read something, but just something different. The stories vary in length, which I love. I can read this in my commute to work, which is great. And each of them completely different. And I think short stories really suits me at the moment. So I can dip in and out. I can read to the end of a story, and I can feel like there's some small wins there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Would recommend, wouldn't recommend if you're squeamish. But I am thoroughly enjoying reading this, and I can't wait to read more of her stuff. I actually picked up another one of her books recently, and I'm not sure if I'll read it directly after this, but I'm sure I'll share it with you at some time in the future. That's everything I wanted to share with you today. At this point, I probably would have talked about some of the patterns that I have my eye on for the future, but I think I will do a pattern roundup video, a summer pattern roundup video, shall we say, because there's many summer patterns I'm looking at. As I said, I am leaning more towards the cotton and linen and lighter yarns and things like that, just because of the season. And so I will certainly be sharing some summer-friendly patterns with you. I will try to get a nice mix of patterns, so accessories and maybe clothing items, but some which are smaller, that you can feel like you don't have a huge project ahead of you. Because I think for me that's important, having a mix of projects that I can reach for if I'm just in the mood to do a quick project or have a long-term whip. So I'll share some of those patterns in another video. But today I just wanted to share my whips, things I picked up, and also a bit about my spinning. So the final thing to mention is that I recently made a visit to the London Sewing Machine Museum. And I have recently published a video about my trip there, which I hope you'll enjoy. And I will have more sewing content on my channel. I've also posted a darning video where I was repairing my husband's socks recently. So naturally, when I came across the museum, I had to visit and then I had to take you along. So it's very hard sometimes to do places justice when you are trying to capture them on film, but you're also trying to live in the moment. And I hope that you enjoy that video as much as I enjoyed being there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the journey today, and I will see you in the next one.